it was a transition. It took a little while before that happened because I still got the guys I'm trying to impress. I'm still trying to be part of that gangster image and hold on to that.
Right.
So it was a process. I say about 4 years to 6 years before I came out, I really got more deeper into myself. Not only the physical and the mental side, but the spiritual side of myself and connecting, in which I believe in the universe and connecting with the universe and energy.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? So I would say 4 to 6 years, but before going in, the question was what?
No,
what made you finally say like, yo,
enough's
like
enough.
you said, like, yeah, like, yo, what I did was wrong, and and realizing
what brought about the epiphany?
Well, that came with my son, my oldest son. So my oldest son, when he came to see me, he was about, I say like 12 years old, 11 years old. And back then when they used to take the pictures, it used to be the Polaroid picture. So you don't get your picture until later. So after you take your picture, boom, you go over there, you sit down, they'll bring your pictures like maybe 30 minutes later.
Right.
So he brought my picture. When I looked at it, my son was in the picture like this. So I was like, what the fuck is that? What's this sign? He said, Latin King. I said, you a Latin King? He said, yeah. That's how you Latin King. He said, my uncle Latin King. He said, I'm a king. Now, I started to break down about gangs and stuff to him, but I was too emotional to really talk because at the same time, I was in the gang. I was blood then.
Right.
So that's what made me say, how the fuck can I teach my kid anything and tell him to get out of gangs and what not to follow, and I'm in the fucking gang?
Yeah, you gotta be the change you want them to be.
So I said, nah, that's it. And then, it just came the day we was in the yard, everybody outside, we talking this shit, and I said, that's the end of this shit, bro. And they're like, what you mean that's the end? I said, I'm done with this shit. They're like, well, you know what, they don't mean nothing, whatever. This is my life, nigga. Y'all niggas want to go to war for it? You're going to go to war for my life and my decision? Then he was like, nah, word came down, you know what I'm saying? You can retire, you ain't got to drop your flag and all this other shit. I don't give a fuck what you call it, what I can do with my life. That's the end of that shit. I'm not doing that no more. That's it. I got a kid, I got a family, I got to make it home to. You know what I'm saying? And that should be the ultimate goal with everybody when they're in prison. The ultimate goal is to, when you go in there, is to work on yourself, to change, in which they call it Department of Corrections, in which they're supposed to help correct you from where you lack that, but they can't correct you because them motherfuckers is criminals. Right. So you're gonna have to have that epiphany and work on yourself. So I began to read different books, and I read this one book by Dr. Yaka some shit, man. But he was telling a story about a criminal from when he was a kid, and the criminal, it started out, he stole a bag of potato chips from the store. And the family cheered him on. They were like, oh, how you get them change chips? Oh, look at the little boy, took these chips out the store, and everybody outside, oh, little man, and took the chips out the store. And they fucking cheered the behavior. Then I'm like, damn, I've seen that shit happen in my neighborhood. Boom, and then he was going through it, everything that was happening. And then as I was going through the book, I came to a point where I said, that's me. Fuck this shit. That's me. I'm that book right there. And I started to really look at my life, like really get into myself and just thinking about, damn, what the fuck I went wrong? And that's how I was able to come up with these different words: desensitize, dehumanize, poor impulse control. When I came to the internet, no one, if you go back, no one was talking accountability. You wasn't even hearing that word, accountability. Before I came home, I said, I'm gonna give people all of these words right here. That was my words. I used to tell Sonetta, I used to tell Hassan Campbell, because Hassan Campbell would always be like, yo, bro, you got a good story, you got a hope, you should come to the internet, boom, give the jail side of what you went through. So I was like, yo, man, I'm not giving no gangbanging side, all that negative shit, because he wanted me to come out with the negative shit like these dudes is doing. Right. Like, I can't do that. I'm not doing that shit.
Glorify it.
Yeah, I'm not glorifying that. You know what I'm saying? So I guess that's where we differ. So then I came to a point where I just said, you know what? We're going to accountability. I'm going to hold a brother accountable. And I'm going to show everybody out there, I'm just going to hold you accountable. And accountability is only pointing out your faults and things you need to work on. And if you work on these things, you could become a better person, a better man.
Right.
You could become more successful if you work on these things. But the first thing dudes did was lash out at me. Fuck you think you is, nigga, telling me about what I'm doing, this and that. I'm not telling you about what you're doing. I'm just giving you an observation from me from the outside looking in. And I'm not saying I'm no better than you because I need things I need to work on. Also, being on the YouTube has helped me to be able, because there was a time where a motherfucker with that, suck my dick, you bitch ass thing, whatever you say, I have part input, I'll snap off, let's get busy, let's fight, let's do it. This has helped me to be able to, a motherfucker talking about my mama, a motherfucker talking about my kids, a motherfucker doing all that. I said, you know what, you motherfuckers, I really changed my fucking life. And to be able to see you in a physical and not feel nothing, it's like, yo, damn.
Who have you seen in the physical?
Hassan Campbell, behind the bar. So if you look at the dude behind the bar, when I ran down on him in the store, and he was talking about me for years, talking about everything, agreeing with Hassan, they laughing, talking this crazy shit. Right. When I ran down on him, he screamed out, 10 toes, yo, what up? Oh no, what's up, nothing. And like I said, you can read body language, you know who I know what I'm dealing with. You a punk, you a family guy, you not tough. So I said, you bitch, all that you was talking on the internet, talk that shit right now. No, you know, that's just content. That's just it. And I'm like, no, that's not that. This is real life decisions.
Are there some people that are really detached to the point where they feel like this is just an internet game I'm playing?
Yeah, 1,000%. They are so detached thinking that this is just the internet and nothing's gonna happen. And they believe nothing's gonna happen because they don't really come outside. They really know it. And if they roll around, they got a mask on, or they rolling with 100 dudes and thinking that's gonna protect them like they bulletproof vests. But my thing is, listen, rather than do that, right? Why not work together and see if this other thing works? Because apparently that other shit ain't working that you doing and that shit you spitting. So why don't we come together in which you say, yo, why don't you work with this person, work with that person? Yeah. And let's just see if that works.
I've advocated for that, but I feel like some people have, they don't have the personality that it takes to work together.
Mm-hmm. You said last week that Benny was trying to bring y'all together, and then somebody told this person don't do that, and then they went.
Yeah. So basically, Benny was trying to bring everybody together to come to like one big. He had a spot where they was building, and he was gonna have everybody have their own individual room, and you can make it up the way you want. And you still can have your regular YouTube channel, but he wanted everybody to come together. And he needed everybody for the sponsors to help push it.
Network.
But dudes is like, nah, I ain't fucking with him. Oh, nah, I don't fuck with him. I don't fuck with him. I don't fuck with him. And I'm the main culprit where they like, yo, we don't fuck with him. But I'm the main one saying, I fuck with everybody. I don't care. Y'all done talk dirty about me. Y'all done went fucking kicked my mom down the steps, all kind of crazy shit. I'm like, I accept that. You know why? Because the action really didn't happen. That's not my reality. That's not for real.
I think in those cases, it's more of there's a threat that they feel that instead of just admitting, because trying to hold on to something that well, you said this, so I'm gonna hold on to this forever.
And that's what they use.
But that's not
a fact.
9 times out of 10. If you run into them, it's gonna be a conversation.
Yeah.
I guess, you know, and I can't knock people. Some people don't want to be exposed. So they keep themselves at a distance to where they would have to be revealed. That is what it is. But on the other hand, negativity moves the margin for a lot of these guys. So if turning on your camera and targeting somebody is keeping you off the streets from snatching purses or whatever, what can you do?
But you're recreating a whole new type of
And they say they're not talking about it, they're just speaking on it.
And
That's how they hide it.
I said this about Tax Stone. I was like,
it's hot for trapper turn smack rapper. Only smack rapper that you know is smack rapper.